Des yeux qui font baisser les miens, un rire qui se perd sur sa bouche, voilà le portrait sans retouche.
Hi, this is Susanna Bowling and this is T2C Online. Today we're at 54 Below with I Could Have Danced All Night, but no, she could have sung all night, Christina Andreas.
Christina Andreas, and I'm at 54 Below October 1, my birthday, and October 8.
Christine, you have such an affinity for French and French music and French sensibility. Where does this come from?
A past life. I really don't know, but you know, languages are music. And I can just remember feeling very comfortable singing in Italian or French or Spanish, even German, only Ave Maria in German. I liked it. You know, I studied initially classically, so certain languages open up other sounds in your voice. I just went with it. When I sing in French, apparently the French say I have no accent, so they start blabbing to me in French, and I have to go, je m'excuse, je ne parle pas le français, mais un petit peu, because I don't speak. So I feel like a hypocrite. But eventually, before I die, I will learn to speak. But it's a music, and I'm an intuitive musician, so I hear the music and the language, and it moves me, and so I guess that's what it is.
When you were singing La Vie en Rose, what were you thinking of?
The words. When he holds me in his arms and speaks to me softly, I see life in pink. Who talks like that? I mean, we don't talk like that. They just say things in the most beautiful way, you know, and it's such a beautiful love song. He speaks to me with everyday words, and he gives my heart such happiness, and I don't know where it comes from. And it's such a nice way to, you know, express.
You talked about the composer Martin Silvestro. Can you talk a little
Silvestri.
Silvestri.
Yeah. Well, this is my husband.
Ah.
My squeeze. I met Marty more than 20 years ago. He was working on a new show called The Fields of Ambrosia, which ultimately went to London on the West End. And he wrote with an old friend of mine, Joel Higgins. And they sent me this demo, which I hadn't listened to for 2 weeks. They were going nuts. I was busy doing a play out of town, and I didn't have time. And 2 weeks go by, and I suddenly listened to this coming home on the bus after 4 margaritas, and I go, oh my God, I have to sing this. And I called them back, and some other broad had the song and the show. And I went, we just have to kill her. And something happened, and she couldn't do it, and I ended up doing their reading. We ended up getting a production in New Brunswick. The show went through the roof. We went to London with it, and we've been together ever since. And I have a special needs son, and there was a time when doing theater, which is 8 shows a week, was just very, very excessively demanding, and I needed to pay attention to what was going on with my boy, Mac. And this is just when Marty came into my life, so I kind of had to close the door on theater for a while, concentrate on Mac, but I have to sing. So Marty comes into my life with all of his music and his great joie de vie, and we started just making music together, and our first concert ever was the White House for George I. And it just happened that way, just came together that way, which seemed to me to indicate it was meant to be. So, I mean, in-house I have this guy who's at the piano, and I'm constantly in awe. He and Joel have written 2 new shows, Countess of Storyville and Casanova. 2 different shows that just happen to come together at the same time. So I'll be out, just say grocery shopping, and I walk into the house, and I'll hear a strain of music that's never been out there in the world before. No Joel singing it or Marty playing it. And so I live with inspiration every day. Between Marty and my beautiful boy Mac, my heart pretty much stays open.
What else can viewers expect to see at your concert?
Bemused? Well, the conceit, as I said, is, you know, the alchemy that happens when the right singer hooks up with the right songwriter. So that's open-ended for the rest of my life to riff on, but in this particular set, which is its virgin voyage of this concept, I picked Streisand and the Bergmans, so it would be Summer of 42, which is this beautiful piece. I picked Arlen in collaboration with Judy Garland and Ethel Waters. Happiness is Just a Thing Called Joe is introduced by Ethel Waters. Of course, Over the Rainbow, Get Happy, Garland. I picked, this is funny, Jimmy Webb and Glenn Campbell, who both, I mean, Jimmy Webb, his first record at 14 was Glenn Campbell's Turn Around, Look at Me. And they met years later, and it wasn't the greatest meeting of all time, which I'll speak about because they come from different polarities. but they made a string of hits and I guess became good buddies in the course of it. It would be Astro Gilberto and Antonio Carlos Jobim. You know, Gilberto, who was a totally non-professional. You know, just Gilberto says, you know, well, just sing on this tune that Stan Getz, an album they were working on. So she just happens to go, young and lovely. Never sang professionally before, wins a Grammy. You know, so sometimes these collaborations are completely magical. And I'm hoping that if you talk a little bit about these collaborations and then just loosely go into the tune, that the songs will take on another dimension because of the alchemy of the people involved. You know, that was the idea.